Hello, everyone. Welcome to the St. Patrick's Day episode of Overseas Famous Podcast. St. Patrick's Day, most famous overseas holiday there is. Everyone is Irish for one day a year. It's the only holiday, I think, like that, where everyone decides that they're going to be Irish just to drink. And it always comes at an odd time for athletes, as if you're a college basketball player, usually this is like the tournament starting. If you're a professional basketball player, you're kind of getting to that playoff push, and it's really tough to just go wild on St. Patrick's Day. But we're going to tell some stories today. Have a few fun guests today. First, obviously, Matt. Matt, now 21. Matt, this is your first St. Patrick's Day as a 21-year-old, correct?
Yes, this is my first St. Patrick's Day where I'm legally allowed to consume alcohol. So I'm definitely looking forward to it. I can tell you that.
That's going to be incredible. It's going to be a good time. And I will say, the St. Patrick's Day lining up with the start of the Ncaa Tournament is just
perfect.
It's the perfect storm of just wanting to just go out and do something fun. So most people are going to call out on Friday because that's just a great day. And usually the Thursday and Friday are a good day to call out. The tournament's going, you're drinking for St. Paddy's Day. It's just going to be a good time. So we have today on the show, Devon Brookshire, our old friend, will be joining us to tell us her stories. Now, she says she doesn't have any good St. Patrick's Day stories, but she did play in Ireland. So we're going to definitely talk to her about that. Also, Andre Wolford, who currently is playing in Ireland for the Limerick Celtics, he's going to join us today, and he's going to be talking a little bit of the actual Ireland experience during St. Patrick's Day, and that'll be fun. I don't know if he's experienced it yet. We're going to have to find out, but it's going to be a lot of fun to kind of talk about St. Patrick's Day when you're actually overseas. And in Ireland, especially, because I don't know. I feel like we're getting the watered down version here.
I was just about to say that. Like, I feel like St. Paddy's Day in Ireland is like a completely different story than what it is in America. Like, you see, like in America, we celebrate it pretty hard, but I couldn't even imagine how much more fun it is in Ireland.
It's got to be crazy. And I think obviously it's a religious holiday. It's like St. Patrick's Day. I know of people who've been in Ireland for St. Patrick's Day, and it was like they would go to church. Like, church was a big part of that day. But I know there's like the whole entire like Protestant, non-Protestant thing going on in Ireland. So I don't even want to get into the religion and get myself into a holy war. So, but I definitely know that St. Patrick's Day is obviously a big deal. It's weird because the different places that I played, I've been in St. Patrick's Day in Kosovar, and it was like no one gave a shit. I was in St. Patrick's Day in Estonia, kind of the same thing. No one really gave a shit. Like it was a lot of like Russian and like Serbian culture there. And I feel like they're a very proud culture. So I think they just are like, it's like, fuck you, Ireland. Like, we don't care about you. So it's like, we're not going to celebrate your holiday. And I felt like I got that when I was there. Like, it just came and went, and I was like, hey, is there Guinness here? And people were just like, whatever. So New Zealand, however, was crazy.
You spent like multiple St. Patrick's Days in different countries, right?
Yeah.
So where does like America compare to other countries? And is there any country that's possibly better than America that's not Ireland for St. Paddy's Day?
So New Zealand was incredible. That was a real experience because I lived in Wellington, and the entire town celebrated. Now, there's also a lot of the New Zealand. It's a lot of like that Ireland English connection. So a lot of people from Ireland eventually like kind of made their way to New Zealand. I think, like Australia, New Zealand, a lot of it was like, they always say English convicts became Australia, but it's like that they kind of integrated down there. So Ireland was crazy because New Zealand was crazy because I was actually there with like people who are British, people who are Irish, and it was a really, really good time. I mean, we went to this Irish pub. It was packed. It felt very authentic. We were eating like authentic Irish potatoes, authentic corned beef, drinking a ton of Guinness, doing shots of, Irish whiskey. Like we did, it was the real deal experience. And it wasn't America. I've done the American one where you're just drinking Guinness and stuff. This was like the real deal. It felt very authentic, especially when people were speaking like with Irish accents. And you're like, wow, this is as authentic as it's going to get unless I go to Ireland. But I don't know. There's Scranton. Have you ever been to Scranton?
I've never been to Scranton, actually.
Scranton, I've been there before, and I've been there during the Irish weekend. That was kind of crazy too. I mean, they're all, I don't know, like everyone, I feel like Ireland, I don't know if it's St. Patrick's Day, but I feel like everyone I know somehow says that they're Irish in some way. Like I'm not
On
Irish
St. Patty's
anyway.
Day, they start pulling it out. They're like,
Yeah,
oh, this person in my family, they were Irish.
yeah,
So I still have like that heritage
like
there.
7% Irish, and I'm like, you're like Italian, like you're not
Yeah.
Irish. It's like, no, I'm Irish. I'm like, all right, I have no Irish blood. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
either do I. And I'm not going to come out here and claim it on St. Patty's Day
No,
either.
like I'm wearing a St. Patty's shirt because I like the whole entire holiday, and it's funny because there's like a lot of things with St. Patty's Day, and like my name is Kevin Patrick Owens, so you would assume it's Irish. However, going back into my lineage, through my grandfather, who was the Paul Owens, the GM of the Phillies, he's like the adopted grandfather. Like my dad was adopted by him, so it's not really that authentic Irish because there's no Irish blood. Like we're Norwegian and like Portuguese, so that's my whole entire lineage. So it's fun, but I don't have that Irish blood in me, so it's whatever.
Camden Catholic, did they do anything since like the nickname was the Fighting Irish? Was St. Patty's Day something big there?
They do. So it's, yeah, like they have the Irish Giving Day. So I kind of like embrace the Irish culture, especially because of Camden Catholic. Like you're like, oh, Camden Catholic, everyone's Irish. I wasn't, but at the same time, I embraced that Irish culture. And so like St. Patty's Day, we have Irish Giving Day. That's like a big day. And I guess if you go to Camden Catholic, people are like, well, you have to be Irish or at least know how to drink, which I'm sure everyone does. So it's a good time. Devon. So Devon's joining us now. It's going to be awesome. So Devon claims that she doesn't have any good St. Patrick's Day stories, but Dev, you lived in Ireland, so there has to be something there where you like had some good times in Ireland.
Well, like in Ireland, yeah, for St. Patrick's Day, we had a game the next day, so like I didn't do anything.
So when you had that, so you had a game the following day. What was the experience like outside of? Were you in an area where people were just like going crazy? Is it that crazy over there? Or is it more like that's the American thought process?
So from my understanding, from my experience, is it's more of an Americanized and like touristy holiday. Like the Irish people themselves weren't like there's parades, and like Dublin downtown was, I think, wild, but again, more so because of tourists than like actually because of Irish people. And I was in like a suburb of Dublin, so I think there was like a small parade that I kind of looked at, and there was like a little gathering at a community center with Irish music and I think some dancing or something. So it was like little kind of celebrations, but definitely not like the overblown kind, at least where I was. I think again, like in Dublin, it gets a little crazy, but yeah.
That is it's just a cool, unique perspective to be, and it is. I feel like there's a lot of, it's a very Americanized thought process that like St. Patrick's Day is like the big shit. And obviously, the one thing I was telling Matt is like earlier, I know a lot of people were like, it was like a religious thing. Like people were going to church. It was like a very holy day because it's like St. Patrick. But then I said I didn't want to get into a holy war because I know that, like that's a touchy subject in Ireland. But going through it, so you're playing the next day. Is it like, so it's not like a Christmas season? Like I think of like the Christmas season lasting for weeks. Like it's like you're late leading up to it, it goes and it
Right.
passes, and even after it, you're still in that spirit. Is it kind of like
Yeah.
linger around, or is it just like, oh, here it is, done? Or people
It
just
was
don't even
just
talk about it?
it was a day and then it was done. I think they get like I know that this year obviously it's a Thursday, so like they get a bank holiday, so like everyone's off of school and stuff and work. But other than that, yeah, it's not like Christmas.
I just love I love the perspective. Now, being in other countries, because I was in New Zealand and it was wild. Like it was a huge party. It was an incredible time. In other countries that you've been to, did you experience it in a different way, or was it just kind of like the same thing? I always say like you're kind of in the playoff push at that time, so you can't really go crazy.
Yeah.
But it's definitely something where
Yeah.
you're just kind of like, all right, let's go out and have some fun.
Yeah, honestly, I don't remember it in any other place that I've been. Yeah, and like
In a good way, right? Like you actually
no
just
one's
don't remember
talked about it
wasn't
at
a big
all.
deal. Not because like because I don't remember some St. Patrick's Day for completely different reasons, just like blacking out and things like that. But
yeah, no, not that.
okay, so you just it just kind of came and went. What do you think are
Right.
like the biggest holidays you've experienced overseas?
I think Christmas is huge. Like as all of the like you said, kind of mentioned before, like the lead up to it, I think is a little bit bigger than the States, because all of like the Christmas markets is just like the one difference that is really cool, where they'll just set up these whole markets that are all festive. And even in like the small towns I've been in, there's still been some sort of kind of setup like that. That's been really cool. Here we recently they had like a carnival day, which was kind of like it was on like our Mardi Gras day, so it was kind of like the Portuguese version, but I think that they got it more from Brazil. So again, like I didn't really partake in it personally, but they was like different parades, and it was kind of a little bit Halloween-esque, and like people were dressing up and kind of just celebrating. I don't know what.
the Irish culture, though, in general, did you find that there was like a more celebratory, not even on St. Patrick's Day, but like a celebratory way of going about things, like after a game or just on like an off day, where you guys more inclined to be like, all right, because I know like New Zealand, like those guys went hard. Like if we weren't playing, like we were drinking a lot. And I remember just being like, whoa, this is crazy, because you just didn't experience it in other places. Was Ireland like that, or were they just kind of chill and just like, all right, let's just focus on what we're doing?
No, they definitely like to go out. I think like pretty much after every game they were like always going out. Yeah, I think there's definitely that bit of culture, but I think again you can find that anywhere. It just depends on the group of people you're around. So
what was like what's like the drink of choice? I feel like, I mean, is it like the Guinness? Like I'm trying to eliminate all stereotypes in this episode. So like, is there like, what is the drink of choice? Are people drinking beer? I know, like, you know, as a basketball player, you kind of, I drank beer sometimes, but you kind of tended to go towards like things like I drank a lot of wine in Australia. Yeah. Like you're trying to go like,
it's too heavy.
Yeah. You don't want to be, it's
especially
like
during the season.
Yeah. It is a long season. It just, you don't want to just put that on your body. Did you find that like, were people drinking like a lot of beer in Ireland?
Yeah, not necessarily Guinness though. Like I think only like the hardcore, like maybe the older crowd would drink Guinness. Like I tried it. I went to the Guinness factory and everything. It was like in the actual Guinness factory, I was like, okay, this is good. But like outside of that, I was like, yeah, it's kind of not really my thing. But yeah, I think there was a lot of beer, but then other than that, it was just like like your average kind of.
Even though like you couldn't participate all the time in the St. Paddy's Day stuff because of games, did you ever like see any traditions where you're like, oh, what is that? What are they doing? Anything like that when you're just like on the streets or anything, like in a bar?
So I was only there one season, so I only experienced like St. Patrick's Day once. But from what I remember, just like I said, that kind of traditional Irish music. and kind of like, I think they had like some circle dance that was going on in the community center, and just parades. So yeah.
I feel like Europe, there's just like random parades. I was in France in Mulhouse, and I was just like walking down the street, and suddenly like a parade was happening. There was like these puppets and stuff, and this one person was like firing it was like a play, but it was going on. Everyone was wearing red, and I have no idea what the holiday. Still don't know. I probably should have Googled it at this point, but it was just like, I just feel like it's just so much more festive shit overseas than there is here. I mean, I guess there's more. I guess I've never lived in New York City or like in a city, but I guess I've heard friends be like, oh, there's just people marching and like playing music and stuff in the street. I guess it's more festive if you're like actually in the city atmosphere. The suburbs, you just don't get the same vibe.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah, I think like overseas they have different, like I feel like there's a lot more holidays that they celebrate versus like just kind of saving it for like the big ones. I think they just kind of like, can we celebrate this? Excellent, let's do it.
Hey, it's a Friday and this play came out. Do you want to just parade down the street? Sure. Can we drink? Yes. Okay.
Right.
Good. It's such a cool experience. So like being in Portugal now, you talked a little bit about something you've kind of experienced, the Portuguese little Brazilian holiday that you experienced. Take us through that in terms of just, did you know it was coming, or was it just like a shock to you? All of a sudden you're like, oh, this is cool.
Only reason I knew it was coming is because like they moved our practice so that it was a day off, and I was like, oh, I guess it's a holiday. But yeah, so that's just kind of how they explained it to me. And in our little area, I think I didn't really see it, but there was like a parade going on. There's little kids like dressed up just like it was Halloween, so it was pretty cute. The way one of my teammates explained it to me is kind of like Halloween without like the scary element, just more of like the fun kind of.
Okay, I like that. That's yeah, anytime you can wear a costume and just like for fun, it's all good. I think about like what Americans, because I know people had asked me like, what do you do on the 4th of July? And it's like weird, and like Thanksgiving, and you think that you're, as an American, you kind of have this, I guess, like pompous attitude. You're like, what do you mean? What do you do on Thanksgiving? Like, you don't celebrate Thanksgiving? They're like, no, dickhead. Like, this is just your holiday. I'm like, oh, okay. But I felt like there's a lot of people did try to celebrate those holidays to almost make you feel at home. Like, I know I had a Thanksgiving dinner in Australia, and they were just like, let's just celebrate, because I think it was so Americanized. And kind of the same thing, like 4th of July, people always ask, like, what do you do? And I was like, light off fireworks. They're like, why? I was like, I have no idea. That's what we do. That's what we do.
Yeah.
But that's it's fun to kind of talk a little bit about St. Patrick's Day and kind of like the experience being there firsthand. And obviously being an athlete, I definitely think that's something that is a little scary to kind of have that whole entire St. Patrick's Day experience when you really can't drink. I just think it sucks. But
yeah,
I was like, I lost my train of thought because I heard a bang. And my daughter's like in the house by herself, and I heard a bang, and then I heard like something. I think she's making cereal, so I was like trying to like piece it together. Like, what the fuck is she doing up there? Oh Christ, Devon, who do you like in the tournament?
Oof.
Not to put you on the spot.
Yeah. Wow. Honestly, this is bad. I haven't really been following college basketball too much this year, so I could not give you a good answer. All I know is my Gales are a 5 seed, so I'm gonna go with them as hopefully they can make a nice run. I love it. Yeah,
St. Mary's. I love it. What is and I'm like the same thing. Like I looked at the bracket today, and I just feel like I didn't know anything. And I've been so busy, and then I've been watching. I feel like I watched the Sixers because I'm in Philadelphia, so I like watched the Sixers instead of watching like college basketball. And I feel like I just haven't been into it. Matt, you played college.
Exactly how I'm feeling.
So you give us your shot.
Between my season and then watching like the NBA, I haven't really been able to watch too much college basketball. I thought I watched a lot more until, like you kind of said, I looked at the bracket. I'm like, I don't know. There's like there's probably like 8 teams that I've totally watched this year, and I watched multiple of their games, but I didn't really get like to watch too many teams, so I'm not really sure. I do like Arizona. I think they're pretty good this year for the men's bracket.
And I feel like the women's bracket, it's like you have these like it's not this, and there's like the mix-ups, and there's the upsets and the Cinderellas and things like that, but it's so hard to take down a number 1 seed in women's basketball. I've like the South Carolinas and the UConns. It's like they just roll through it, and it's like chalk. Yeah. Like you're just kind of like, they're gonna lose, and then all of a sudden it's like those two play each other, and it's so different than it is in like men's basketball, where like you can kind of have those teams that could just knock off anyone at any given time. I feel like it's just like with women, it's like you're not beating South Carolina, and it's just like, all right, no, we're not.
Yeah, but I think this year UConn isn't even a 1 seed.
Yeah, I did see that.
Yeah, not this year
in a really long time. So I do think that the disparity the gap's lessening a little bit. But like you said, it is tough to beat the 1 seeds on the women's side.
Yeah, they're a 2 seed. Well, what's her name? Paige Becker was out for most of the year. I guess she's back now. She's frightening. It's just tough. Like I always think like some of these teams, they get I talked to you when we had Jackie on, and it's like she talked about going to USC because she wanted to kind of support California and stuff like that, and she was getting recruited by UConn, and it's like she just wanted to support her kind of her state and stuff like that. But it's just like crazy because that usually doesn't happen. I said there's a guy who went to Duke who I used to train, and he was getting recruited real big by Stanford, and Coach K like walked into a practice of his and like started recruiting him at the very end, and he's like, I'm going to Duke. And is that like probably like what I guess Gino does and Dawn does? Like they just kind of come in at the end and be like, you're coming with me, and they're like, okay, sounds good.
Sure.
I'm down. So we got a fun day. Lots of college basketball, lots of St. Patrick's Day festivities. Now, Devon, as an American, do you have a game coming up this weekend?
We play tomorrow, Saturday, and Sunday.
So no real drinking for you, huh? Not a lot of drinking for Devon this weekend.
I lost you for a second.
Can you hear me? There we go. So you're not drinking hard this weekend, huh?
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
Lots of water.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, listen, we'll all celebrate on a podcast when you get back, and we can all drink and have a good time. We'll have the overseas famous party.
Sounds good.
Awesome.
Sounds great.
Devon, you rock. Thank you so much for joining us, telling us your story. We really appreciate it.
Of course, anytime.
Awesome. I'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Matt. Good times.
Yep.
So talking with Devon, got a little insight into some of the St. Patrick's Day stuff that she kind of experienced, which is fun. Andre,
kind of sucks how she didn't get to experience it for the 1 year she was there. You feel bad because it's like, that's basketball season and kind of what you sign up for. But at the same time, you want to culturally experience as much as you can while you're in other countries. And since she couldn't, that kind of it's an experience that she got to miss. She missed out on, which sucks.
I do think there is something to be said. She said she was like in the suburbs, and I think that's like something to be said about that.
Mm-hmm.
And we have we're gonna have Andre. Andre is gonna be joining us next, and we'll talk to him just about the same thing. What his experience is so far in Ireland. And without further ado, Andre Wolford. Here we are, Andre Walford, Limerick Celtics, overseas basketball player, Ohio product, and St. Francis, PA, obviously. We'll talk a little bit about that as our Monmouth St. Francis PA rivalry. But the first thing I want to ask you, now you played in Kosovo last year, and I know just talking over chat the past few days, that was something that I feel like it bonds a human being like no other experience when you know someone, even if you didn't play in the same team or even the same era, but they played in Kosovo. I was like, I know what he's dealing with. I know exactly what's going on. So you talked a little bit about a story where you were playing in Paya for a game. I have crazy stories from Paya because I just know that the how the arena is. So take us through your experience in Kosovo before we get into your obviously experience in Ireland, as this is the St. Paddy's Day episode. So take us through your experience in Kosovo and what that was like. And was it good? Was it bad? The good, the bad, the ugly? I want to hear it all.
Man. So I was an import. So I got imported around was it January 1st.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got off the plane. They gave me like a day or two to rest. And then I got into practices and stuff. And they told me we were playing against our rival, Paya. And I was like, oh, okay, that'll be a fun first game. Man, we get to the game. And it's my first overseas game ever. So I've been waiting to play pro for like months. I'm like, man, I'm about to go out here put on a show for the fans just so they can know who I am. Man, I started like hitting threes and stuff, and I started celebrating. Man, they started throwing water bottles on the court. What people don't understand, like I always tell people a story about people like shooting off those fireworks and stuff. The loud popping noises that you hear in the crowds and stuff. It was nuts. So that's going on. It gets to the third, like midway through the third quarter. And the crowd, something happens and people just start fighting out of nowhere. So one side of the crowd goes over to the other side. Somebody punches somebody in the face. Everybody's throwing chairs and stuff at each other. Cops get involved, and you think the cops will be stopping it. They're punching people in the face. And then people start getting on the court. It was crazy. They were like escorting people out the building, and they end up canceling the game. So we didn't even get to finish the game because of how crazy it was. You go outside, it's a crowd of people just outside, just rowdy, just yelling, screaming. Man, that was my first overseas game, man. I remember calling my mom afterwards. I was like, man, did I make the right decision? Like, it's crazy out here.
It's so true. And I played in Kosovo, like I think it was almost the last year I played, and I went to Pristina, and I was like the same way. Like I played in Australia, I played in South Korea, I played in like places that were more docile. Like the crowds were cool. They got behind you, they supported you, saw them around town. They were good. And Kosovo was just a different breed. Like we had our fan group who was really, really into what we were doing at all times. They didn't want to, like they needed to be in our business, and they were like always holding these meetings and be like, okay, come, why are we, we didn't lose a game the entire time that we lost in like the final one game, and people were like losing their minds, and they brought us into a table and they're like, why did you lose? And I was like, or like even when we were winning, they're like, you won by 10. I was like, I don't understand what this conversation is happening. These guys were super aggressive. And then you'd see them in the crowd and they'd be like standing on the balconies, like rooting and pumping their fist and like shouting at the other fans. I was like, this is like a war zone right now. I was like, this is like nuts. I've never seen anything like it.
It's crazy. It's nuts, man. They are cutthroat over there.
They are.
And actually, there was a story. Oh, I apologize.
No, go ahead.
There's a story. I wasn't a part of this, but I heard that it happened, right? So, again, with Paya's fans, I guess I forgot what team it was, but they went and played Paya at Paya's stadium. And they brought a whole fan bus with them to go support them against Paya. I guess from the story has it, I wasn't there, but the story has it that a fan actually got stoned to death because they were throwing stones at the fans after the game. Oh my gosh. It was, like,
That doesn't
crazy
surprise
out
me
there.
that doesn't surprise me in the slightest bit. Like I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Like some places you'd be like, holy shit, but that you're like, yeah, that seems on brand with what's going on over there.
Man, it was crazy, man,
That is
for
wild.
sure.
Yeah. It's just an experience over there. And I feel like you can play there, you can play anywhere. Like we talk about, there's a lot of conversations we have even with like NBA guys who are just like don't understand that level. I mean, we hear all the stories of like guys getting water bottles thrown and they're like, what the and it's like a huge story. And like meanwhile, we've been experienced where like water bottles are thrown at us and we're kind of like dodging our head and being like, all right, you missed me. Like you didn't hit me. It's like it's just a
Right.
different world. Like there's just the fan level there is on a different level. And it's just like
Yeah.
a passionate people. They're just very passionate. I've kind of learned that like they just really love their sport, but they just don't know
Right.
how to handle because it's the same with soccer. Like they're just nuts. Like they're just crazy all the time. And it's a scary world over there.
Right. Like we played at you remember Rob Vecchi?
Yeah.
Rob Vecchi, that was a cool experience because they have a nice gym and they had a player there that like he's from there, so like he's a local and he's just really good. So like they always have like fire come out, like the intros for him and the smoke and everything. Man, those fans were insane, man. Like the fireworks that were going off during, and they're not like literal fireworks. People don't understand. It's not like they're like literal fireworks in the air like Fourth of July. It's like
Yeah.
noises.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like like loud like bomb noises and stuff like boom. So all of a sudden during that game because we played at Rob Vecchi and then we watched the game after, and all of a sudden we hear like there's a rumor of somebody having a gun in the stands. So says somebody has a gun, and then people just start running out of nowhere. I'm like, what's everybody running for? I didn't ask too many questions. I left too. Because I'm like, I don't know what's going on here. Look, I don't know what's going on. But people actually they were just kind of, some people were sitting around just kind of watching the game. Other people ran did what they had to do. But you're right though. If you could play there and survive that, survive, just the culture there. Because that's another thing that's hard about playing overseas is the language barrier, especially like languages like Albanian. It's hard, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's like top 3 hardest languages in the world. I think they have like 10 extra letters in their alphabet.
Yeah. It is
It's
definitely
crazy.
a wild language. I honestly I was kind of in the same boat. I would just kind of learn a few phrases. It's like any other player, the curse words, and like I'm like a little kid. I'm just like, what? Wait, what
Right.
does that mean? And they're like, it means
Right.
fuck, and you're like, oh my god, that's awesome. But I didn't. They were just talk, and most people spoke English, so I was just like, all right, I'm just not even gonna bother with this. Like I'm not. I'm gonna be the ignorant American who doesn't really partake. And same thing. Like so, you started in January. I kind of was in the same boat. I came back from injury and went there in like February, and they don't really take imports before that. They're just like play out their season with who they got, and then they just bring the imports in for like the second half and the playoff run because they're like, well, we're not paying these guys the whole season. It's like we'll just play it out and it will end up. So when you went from St. Francis, PA, you graduate and you start your journey. How did you link up with Kosovar? How was that? How did that come to be?
Man, so shout out to my guy Drew Kelsa at One Motorsports, my agent. He really helped me out with that one. It came out of nowhere. I'm actually a coach and trainer at home. So I was coaching and training in a session. I come home thinking it's a normal day, and he's like, yeah, by the way, you got an offer to go out and play in Kosovo, which I never heard of a day in my life.
Uh-huh.
So I was like, man, I mean, I don't care where it is, I'll go because I just was really eager to go. So it kind of just happened out of nowhere. He didn't even like warn me about it or like tell me, oh, you're getting some interest. They just put an offer on the table, and I took it. So it was definitely a blessing, man. And when I got there, it just didn't feel real because of how fast everything went.
Yeah.
Like I can't remember the exact timeline, but I got the offer in December at some point. I had like a couple days or a week or something to get myself prepared, and then I was out there. So it's like in a blink of an eye, you out there playing, and the first game you getting riots and stuff. Like it's crazy. It's
I
crazy.
feel like that definitely Did that mess with your psyche at all? Because I know that we played in some crazy games, and I was like, the next time we played there, I was like, ah, shit, like this is going to be crazy. They're going to throw shit at us. They're going to light up coins and throw like hot coins at us. Like they're just going to do some weird shit. Did that like mess with your psyche, or you're just like, fuck it, here I am? Like, did that kind of play in like these fans are nuts? Like, hopefully I can go into each game without getting, hit with a coin and knock myself out.
Yeah, I liked it because I was just like, to me, it was just the fans showing how much they cared about the game. But I'll tell you what though, I ain't celebrate no more in the other games. I swear I did. I didn't do no more celebrations. I didn't try to get the crowd involved. Nothing. I just played. If I scored, I just ran back on defense. I didn't do none of that. Mm-mm.
Yeah, that's a good point. You don't want to sit there and hold up the three and like shoot an arrow into the crowd. They'll be like, all right, like I know what you're doing. I'll be like, all right, that's not good.
Then you get concussed with a water bottle coming at your head out of nowhere. Like it's crazy, man. But like I said, it's a lot of fun because it's just that's stories you could tell forever.
Yeah.
And you just gotta kind of embrace it because that's a part of their culture.
Yeah, it is.
Just gotta go out there, have fun with it. I love basketball, so however it is,
So you left Kosovo. Now you're in Ireland, a very good league, like a league that not a lot of people have like any idea how good that league is. Because I know a lot of guys who played in Ireland. I was like, man, this is like a really good league, strong competition. But now you're dealing with like the fans in Ireland are, from what I hear, are just like, they're very friendly people. Irish people are very friendly. They'll like take you out to dinner and things like that. That's what the stories that I've heard. Like the fans will be like, "Hey, do you have a place to eat tonight? Like, we'll come in. We'll take care of you." It's like a very family atmosphere. Is that what you've kind of found so far in Ireland?
absolutely. Irish people are the coolest people on the planet. I stand by that 100%. They're so welcoming. They don't care who you are. They don't care where you're from, what race you are, like what language you speak. They just open their arms up to you. In the games, basketball is not extremely popular here. You have sports here like rugby, soccer. They call it GAA football, which is extremely entertaining. Um, Hurling, which is nuts. If anybody knows what hurling is a freaking crazy sport. You gotta look that up sometime. I don't see how people play that. But they have sports like that they're really into. So basketball's kind of on the lower end of the popular sports, but people show up to the games. In America, like you'll hear people talking trash to players and stuff in the stands. You'll go to an Irish game, which you'll have maybe some people, but most of the people are like, oh wow, oh good job, or oh nice, or what they say, oh it's grand, that's grand, So it's like they're just really cool out here. It's really really fun.
That's a big flip from where you were last year to now. Like what a difference in fans. But that's that's super cool. So you're experiencing kind of your first St. Patrick's Day in Ireland. Is it being hyped up? Are people going crazy, or is it just kind of like not a big thing? Is it more of like an Americanized holiday?
It's very Americanized, man. It's a lot of things we do with the Irish culture are Americanized. It's really crazy. Um, I asked people, hey, so what are we doing for St. Patty's Day? First of all, they don't spell it. They said that we spell it the wrong way. It's not St. Patty's Day, Pattys. It's Paddys.
Okay.
So somebody told me to mention that. But so so they don't say St. Patty, say it's St. Paddy's Day. And I'm like, yeah, where are we celebrating? What are we doing? And people are like, I don't know. I don't know what we're doing. We kind of just have a couple drinks, go to the pub. I'm like, well, you kind of making this like a nothing thing, like it's just a normal day. Like in America, we got parties. We got, I went to party at IUP, Indiana University of Pennsylvania.
Uh-huh.
So it was wild out there. People wearing green, gold, everything, good luck charms, all that. They don't do any of that. They don't wear green on St. Patty's Day. They really don't care. It's just another day. I don't know the significance of St. Patty's Day. I got to learn about it, but from what I heard, it's just another day. But they are having, so tomorrow I'm going to a parade to see, kind of what they do in the parade for the day, and then people will go out to pubs and drink afterwards. But it's not hyped up like it is in America for sure.
That's crazy. Do you feel like you're embracing that culture? I know you're young, so you're kind of your second year playing. Year two, it's such a great experience. I feel like like I was in the G League for my first few years, so I didn't really experience overseas. And by the time I got older, I was like, I'm touring everything. I want to see everything because I knew how short that window was. Are you already kind of seeing that and being like, I'm getting out there. I want to see the world. I want to see these places that I'm living in. Is that something you're kind of putting on that bucket list, being like, let me check this out. Let me check this out.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with the pandemic and everything, being quarantined and stuff. It just changed my mindset. I've always been really like friendly and open minded. Like I always try to learn bits of the culture and kind of make it a part of my own. Especially while I'm here, it's just showing respect to where I'm at. Some Americans, they'll go overseas, as you probably know, they'll go overseas and be like, oh no, you got to speak English, or oh no, you got to say what I say. It's like, no, you're in their country, so you got to know their customs and their traditions. Like it's crazy because I've been here for like 7 months now, and I'm starting to develop their slang and stuff
Yeah.
naturally without even trying. Like it just naturally starts coming out. I'm not gonna say everything that they be saying, but like it just naturally comes out. I learned a phrase in Irish and all that stuff. So it's like, but I definitely like want to travel some more. Like after this, I'll probably go visit my boy Patrick Rencher in the UK, visit him, travel a little bit. I want to go see my guys. I played with 2 guys from Spain here, so I want to go visit them in Spain. Just doing things like that, just to enjoy life, see different parts of life, because I feel like it's humbling. It's a humbling experience to be able to get out of your own comfortable setting and go somewhere that makes you uncomfortable, but it's enjoyable at the same time. So yeah, for sure.
Andre, you are doing it all right. You have this great attitude, great mindset going in, and you're obviously on top of being a young, eager, good mindseted player. You're also really killing it. So you're doing it's awesome hearing your stories. It's awesome talking to you, and the Kosovo stuff is incredible. I like I'm gonna definitely keep that guy getting stoned to death story going, because we have to dig deep and figure out what's going on with that, because
I swear.
I love it. But Andre, this is awesome. I really appreciate you hopping on the pod talking. We'll be in touch, and I'll send you out a shirt. We'll do it up. It's going to be a great time. Enjoy your St. Patrick's Day tomorrow, and it's a pleasure talking to you.
Oh, for sure. And yeah, we all appreciate what you're doing. Just kind of helping everybody with this platform and giving people a voice to, tell their stories and things of that nature. Because I checked out your page and stuff too. So you're doing a great job too, man. You're killing it. So just keep it up, man, for sure.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Andre. It's been a pleasure. It's a pleasure talking with a lot of the great athletes that really don't get that recognition because they're overseas. You always hear the NBA, you never really hear the stories, and those stories are just as important as any other athletes. And we're going to be here to share them, and we're going to keep sharing your story. So thank you so much.
For sure. I appreciate you, man.
I appreciate you. I'll talk to you soon.
For sure.
All right. Great interview with Andre, taking us through a little of his Ireland experience so far and his experience in Kosovo, which was obviously fun, place that I played, which was a lot scarier. But fun times. Today is the start of the NCAA tournament. So if you guys are listening to this and about to listen in or start watching some tournament, enjoy some Guinness, or I guess Devon said she wasn't really feeling Guinness a lot. So I guess, enjoy anything that you would like to drink to enjoy this great holiday. And obviously the tournament. Hopefully you guys are not too hungover to watch the games tomorrow, but a big weekend of basketball planned. So enjoy it. Get yourself familiarized with college basketball. My bracket is going to be like shattered. I already thought of like 4 things, and Matt, I honestly, I get myself in my head where I'll see an
So do I.
expert. Well, yeah, they'll say something and be like,
So
pick
do I.
this. Now I will say my upset because of the great Chris Santo, who was on the show. My boy Chris
Vermont
Santo,
upset the 13-4.
Yep, I have the Vermont, where Chris was coaching with the Knicks last year, went back to his alma mater to Vermont, now assistant, now took them in. And I think there's a lot of people are predicting Vermont, but I had them in. Like, that's just like, I put it in pen. So Vermont with the upset, who was it, Wisconsin? So Vermont over Wisconsin.
I forget who it is.
I
I'll
thought
check.
it was Wisconsin, but I could be wrong. But whoever they're playing, I don't give a shit. I want Vermont's going to win. So that's going to be that's my upset of the tournament. And it's one of those tournaments. Are you going to is it going to be one of those tournaments where
Vermont and Arkansas?
Oh,
That's
Arkansas.
Vermont
that's
and
right,
Arkansas.
that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Arkansas. So yeah, fuck it. Vermont anyway. So is it going to be one of those tournaments that's going to be like everything goes as it's supposed to, or is it going to be a tournament where there's going to be a lot of upsets? And I think that's where it's never in between. You know, there's sometimes when there's like
there is never an in between.
Yeah, it's like
I agree.
You're like, holy shit, I can't believe all these teams lost, or like no upsets occurred. And which tournament is going to be? I guess we'll find out soon today. Matt, good times. Any last thoughts on your first experience drinking on St. Patrick's Day?
Definitely looking forward to it. Fortunately, we can't be at school because I'm on spring break, but I'm still going to make the most of it at home.
Nice. Well, Matt, enjoy it. I'll be drinking a Guinness. Enjoy the basketball today, guys. Enjoy Guinness. Enjoy St. Patty's Day. We'll see you guys next week on the Overseas Famous podcast. Thanks to Devon. Thanks to Ncaa.